On yesterday's episode, we talked about Bears players who were currently now on the bubble with the Bears draft day moves. On today's episode, we're going to flip that. We're going to talk about Bears players who were currently on the roster who've benefited most from what the Chicago Bears have done in the draft. We're going to take a look at that. Plus, we're going to look at DJ Moore's comments on working out with Caleb Williams. And the Bears are now favored to have their first winning season since 2018. We're going to get to all that and more right after this.
You are now tuned in to Chicago Bears Central, your number one place for all Chicago Bears news and content.
What's going on, Bears fans? Welcome to another episode of Chicago Bears Central, your number one spot for everything Chicago Bears related. I'm the host here, Haize, but more importantly, you guys can follow the channel at Chi Bears Central on every social media platform we happen to be on. With that being said, let's go ahead and get into this content for today, y'all. And so yesterday I talked about Bears players that were hurt the most by the Bears draft. Basically, Bears players who now have the risk of being cut with what the Bears did in the draft. I want to talk about the Bears players that were already on the roster that we helped more by what we did in the draft. And the first one I want to talk about is Keenan Allen. I think when you draft Rome Odunze, you already have DJ Moore there. You now kind of help Keenan Allen, put Keenan Allen in a position to stay fresh. And while, the injury history that he's had over the last 2 years, he's even talked about it's kind of been a little bit overblown, saying that he could have definitely played more games last season, but because of how that season went, he ended up sitting down, things like that. But for anyone who questions about the ability of Keenan Allen to stay healthy, I think now having that deeper wide receiver room and core is going to put him in a position to where he's going to be able to stay fresher, right? You're not going to be able to have to rely on him as heavily. He's still going to be a very big part of the Chicago Bears offense, but really, in a lot of ways, keeping DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, everybody fresh, because you can really vary how you can use everybody. It's going to put all those wide receivers potentially in the right situation, get an opportunity to explore mismatches, things like that. It's going to be really big, I think, for that. And I think Keenan Allen is going to benefit hugely from that as well. And so while it may have hurt, maybe Tyler Scott is, in that, and we talked about Velus Jones, I think Keenan Allen has a lot to benefit from getting Rome Odunze there. Not only is he going to have somebody that him and DJ Moore can take under their wing and help mold, but make no mistake about it, Rome Odunze is a monster and a beast. And bringing him now to this wide receiver core is gonna help everybody all the way around. So I think Rome Odunze's being there, his availability is gonna help Keenan Allen a whole lot, regardless of how you look at that. And as Keenan Allen gets older, he's only on a 1-year deal, 32 years old. If you have an opportunity to keep him as fresh as possible, the stats may not be as high, right? And we'll see how that's gonna work out. But he may not get that 1,200 yards he got before. But if the ball spread around between all those guys, his 1,200 yards, 7 touchdowns may come down some, or because he only played in 13 games last year, maybe it stays around that same number if he's able to play all 17 games. And so helping everybody stay healthy, helping everybody stay fresh is a really big benefit on getting Rome Odunze and having the depth that we now have in that wide receiver room. So that's the first person on my list. Next up, Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens. With the Chicago Bears not going after a 3-tech, and yes, I know they did sign an undrafted rookie who can play defensive tackle. We got to see how that's going to pan out, but I don't think that's anyone who's a threat to take that starting position from Javon Dexter in a way, and then Zach Pickens is still going to be relied on heavily. In a lot of ways, what the Bears did in this draft by not going defensive line in that, while it could hurt, and by the way, on our live stream tonight, that's actually something that we'll be talking about on today's live stream, is did not going edge or defensive end higher up in this draft is going to really hurt the Chicago Bears, but we'll talk about that a little bit. But having Javon not going after a 3-tech, either in free agency or in the draft, I think puts a lot of eyes on Javon Dexter, but it also says the faith that this coaching staff and Ryan Poles has in Javon Dexter to continue to develop and to be that 3-tech for the Chicago Bears team. So, to see how he grows over the course of this season, we already know that he had some things he needed to work on, trying to work on that get-off, things like that last season. Javon Dexter, all eyes are going to be on him, and what he's able to do and achieve this year can really help make the job easier on that defensive line. We know what Montez Sweat's going to bring. We know what Andrew Billings is, right? And while Andrew Billings is a solid enough player, we know that Andrew Billings isn't this player that we're looking at of being like a world beater or anything there. And even having DeMarcus Walker there, and now, Austin Booker and what he can develop into. But, with having that pressure from the interior, which is an important part of Matt Eberflus's defensive scheme, if Javon Dexter shines in that position this year, it's going to do a whole hell of a lot for this defense overall and getting pressure from that front four. So really looking at that, seeing how Javon Dexter is going to perform in that way. I think it's a lot of things that we're looking at, and all eyes are going to be on Dexter and in a smaller portion, Zach Pickens, right? This really does great for Zach Pickens, and it also speaks, I think, to the faith that the Bears have in him because, yeah, you brought in another defensive tackle via undrafted rookie, right? But you're still betting on Zach Pickens being a higher priority also in your defense than what he was last season. And that shows that you really look at these guys and say, hey, they got something here. Now we just need to cultivate it. And that's going to be up to Eric Washington and those guys to get out of it. But I think Javon Dexter and Zach Pickens have really benefited by the faith now put in them by that coaching staff in the front office by not going after a defensive lineman. Now, could that have changed if different players would have fallen? Would the Bears would have gone maybe defensive lineman in either a tackle or something else? There's a possibility of that, right? But I think the Bears knew exactly what and who they wanted. They got those guys, and partially because they felt comfortable in that and not maybe trading in or trading other picks or not having to move, spend future capital to get back in the second round in this draft. It says a lot about what they feel about these guys, but let me know what you guys think on that. And then the next one I have up is Braxton Jones. I think Braxton Jones is going to get another year to show and prove, right? And while I've said I have my issues with Braxton Jones as well as some of the things that he needs to work on, the bull rush specifically, I think I've said before too, I think kind of the criticism about him has gone too far left in a way. Like, he's still solid, right? And it's up to him now to prove that. And this is an important year for Braxton Jones because, listen, he's going into now another year where the Bears are going to have to look at either extending him or what they're going to do with him in the future. So Braxton Jones is going to get an opportunity, not to say that he's not going to have some competition, right? So we'll see what Kieran ends up turning into if he can stay healthy, if he does push Braxton in this first season. But even if he does not, Braxton Jones is coming in now to a year where it's going to be hugely important for him to show what he has, right? Because that extension is coming up right around the corner. And so he's going to get a chance to, in 2024, to play himself into a potential big money contract, whether it be for the Bears, whether it be for a team if he does end up going in free agency in 2025. Those type of things are all going to be there. But I think at this point, it's given Braxton Jones the opportunity to bet on himself, right? To come into training camp, come into this team, show what you have, and then build off of that, right? Can you build off what you showed for the Chicago Bears in your previous seasons, right? Can you develop some? And, my biggest knock on Braxton isn't that he doesn't still have potential, because he does. Still only 25 years old, was only drafted in 2022. He still has tons of time and years in front of him. But even with that said, Braxton has to start developing. And the thing that my biggest knocks on Braxton is that I feel like he's pretty much the same player he's been since he came in. And not to say that he's improved in certain ways. That's a little bit of a tough criticism, but I don't think he's necessarily progressed the way that it looked like he was going to be able to after his rookie year. His rookie year really looked like, hey, this is a guy that if he puts in some work next season, it's going to be a big season for him. And it hasn't really quite happened. He's going into his third year now in the NFL, and this is a year where you really start looking at putting some things together, rounding out your game somewhat. So I think Braxton Jones is going to get every opportunity to do that now. He's going to have people behind him, though, that are looking for that spot and that could potentially take it. But like I said, even with Kieran, I think that's an insurance for your offensive line overall. If Tevin gets hurt, things like that. But Braxton's going to have plenty of opportunity, and this is another year, despite what a lot of us Bears fans would have liked to see, is bring in somebody who could replace Braxton Jones. He's going to get now an opportunity to continue to work and continue to develop, and we'll see what he has. The fact that he has him and Tevin Jenkins on the same side of the ball, it's going to help Braxton, I think, as well a lot. So we'll see what that develops into. But guys, let me know what you guys think. Who are some of the other Bears that you think benefited the most from what the Bears did in the draft? Bears that were already on the roster prior to the draft. Did I cheat a little bit with Keenan Allen since he was a recent acquisition? Maybe I did, but hey, it is what it is when it comes down to that. But also, I think another guy that I could have put on here is DeMarcus Walker. Because if Austin Booker does work out, right, and can play that edge and pick up a lot of those snaps, it allows DeMarcus Walker to kind of get more flexible in being used on the inside and outside. So maybe that's a player that I missed that should have or could have been on this list, but I would love to hear from you guys on who else you think benefited from what the Bears did in the draft big time. All right, moving on from that, DJ Moore has now talked a little bit about the situation that led to him and Caleb Williams working out. He said this: it was good. Caleb asked me to come out to California. I went there. We had a good throwing session. We were bouncing off ideas from each other, how we're going to do things and stuff like that. It was good. Anticipation is there. You can tell that he's expecting us to be open at a certain time. That's going to be one of the things that's better. Just got to be on the same page with him going forward. It's just going to take some time. Maybe it's going to be fast, or it may take some time, but I'm hoping it's fast. So the fact that Caleb Williams took it to himself to go ahead and call up DJ Moore and to say, hey, can you come out to California? Let's work on our chemistry, right? And I talked about it yesterday, and it was speculation because I hadn't read these quotes yet. I talked about yesterday how it is very similar to what Justin Fields did when DJ Moore was traded here, right? He came in, he worked with DJ Moore, he met him off the airplane reportedly, right? He got to work with him and Darnell Mooney in that offseason. It's funny now that Darnell Mooney and Justin Fields are both gone, right? But this is an important step in the development, building that chemistry and getting these guys on the same page is going to be hugely important. And so while Caleb Williams is waiting on the rookie mini camps, things like that, OTAs, to really kind of keep fleshing out and building this chemistry with this roster, doing things like this does not go unnoticed. Not unnoticed by the other players on the team, not unnoticed by your coaches, because you're taking that and you're grabbing that bull by the horns and you're owning that. You're showing that leadership and saying, hey, I want to work out with you. Let's start working on our chemistry. This is going to be important. And it also shows the commitment to winning, right? One thing that everybody has said about Caleb Williams is that he wants to win. He wants to be successful. While, there's some people that think and worry about the other things outside of football, I truly get that vibe that Caleb Williams wants to be successful, and that's the most important thing to him. And so, hearing that he made that call, he reached out to DJ Moore and said, come work with me. Can you come work out here and work with me? I think that's a very big step, and I think that's important, and I think we're going to continue to see that development. And so, Caleb Williams is doing the right things. And, for that credit, also Jalen Johnson talked about it. Jalen Johnson had comments about Caleb Williams being Hollywood or things like that, and he said this. I cleared the air and was like, hey, that wasn't what it was supposed to be. I don't know you. He hit me, and he was like, hey, I'm a winner. I just want to win. We had a conversation. I'm like, it's all good. Then I talked a little trash about Utah and USC, and it was all good. Again, building the chemistry and the camaraderie with your teammates, right? Yeah, Jalen Johnson is somebody who also sets to benefit a lot from the improved offense because he's going to go up against Keenan Allen, DJ Moore, Rome Odunze, right, in practice, and that's going to help them develop, especially Rome Odunze. That's going to help Jalen Johnson kind of shore up things in his game and everybody in that secondary. And so now that it seems like everybody's kind of coming to this place of, all right, listen, we talked about Justin Fields, the fact that we thought he didn't get a good shake, whatever it is, but this is our team now. We're teammates. We need to grow. We need to develop together. We need to get on the right page because we got things that we need to accomplish. And that's the biggest thing that I think you can pull from all of this is that the Bears recognize they got things that they need to accomplish. Now it's about going out there, doing the work, and accomplishing that. And let's see if the Bears can do it, man. The Bears are having expectations on them this season. And not to say that every season in professional sports, you have your expectations. But now what this team does, how they bond together, how they go through the adversity, through the doubt that's still around a lot of this team is important. And it's important to me as a Bears fan to see this. And I love to hear these conversations are happening as men, right? Because that's first what you have to earn the respect of is the other men in that locker room. And if you can earn that respect, listen, the players have already shown they're going to ride and die for you. This is Chicago, right? Not only will the city ride and die for you, but also will the players, will the coaches. But you got to show you want to go out there and get it. And so Caleb Williams, saying, hey, I'm a winner. I just want to win. Listen, go out there and prove it now. Like, yeah, you need to rally your teammates around you. You're a quarterback in the NFL. And whether right or wrong, the success of the team is largely going to be looked at what you do. So, it's good to hear that these things are happening. These conversations are happening with these now teammates and that the Bears are building that. We talked about a culture, and that's important to building a winning franchise is having culture. And that's what it seems like the Bears are doing. So got to give my hats off to these men, acting like men, operating as men, getting this done. And let's see what this brings to the team. Now, with that said, the Bears are actually favored to have their first winning season since 2018. That's coming from DraftKings. They're favorites. They have a over-under of 8.5. They are favorites, and there's optimism around this Bears team. Now, with that said, you also can't knock that there are some doubt around it still. For example, Sports Illustrated has the Bears ranked as 19th in their overall power rankings, and that's because nothing's won on paper, right? And while the Bears, even in the betting odds from DraftKings, are ranked third in the North Division behind the Lions and the Packers, and then they're a little bit above the Vikings, is the Bears still have to go out there and show and prove it, right? And you guys know I've been saying it. I'm in my show me era. Go out there and show me. And so That I can't knock anybody for having that with this Bears franchise, because while on paper, yeah, we look drastically improved, but how the coach is going to bring this together, right? How is Shane Waldron in his first year now here going to come in and operate this offense? How is Matt Eberflus, as now a third-year head coach, going to fix some of these situational awareness issues that you showed as a coach last year? And how is the defense going to continue to build off how strongly they finished last season? So the questions around the Bears are there. The expectations around the Bears from Bears fans and other places are there as well. But it all gets done and told on the football field. And that's what it has to come down to for this team. We're not going to win shit on paper. And so we can have all the talented players in the world on paper. How does it come together? And that's also how you have to look at these coaches. That's where you got to look at the culture. That's where you got to look at the chemistry. And that's where we're ultimately, as we cover this team here day in and day out, and we're gonna determine what's said. We got tons of potential on this roster. But I can't tell you how many times in sports overall, especially a lot in Chicago sports, potential has bit us in the ass. Go out there and prove it. And so I think they're making those steps, showing that their mindset is at least in the right place. Now let's see where the execution is. But let me know what you guys think on everything down below. As always, make sure you're following the show at Shy Bears Central. You can send us any feedback, questions, comments, concerns, ChicagoBearsCentral@gmail.com. Lastly, if you want to leave a text message and our voicemail for the mailbag, the number to do so, 773-242-9336. We are the #1 spot for everything Chicago Bears related, thanks to you guys. And like I like to end every episode on, Chi-Town up, but bear down. Love you guys. We'll be back live tonight, so make sure you guys hit that live stream button, hit that notification bell so you know when we go live. But bear down, guys. Love you, man. Peace.
This has been a presentation of the Break Media.